We are live and welcome to Inspire, Innovate, Ignite, Conversations That Count. Tonight we have a very special topic close to my heart. I know it's close to a lot of people's hearts, and wonderful panelists who are here tonight to talk about the meaning of purpose, the search for purpose. I know a lot of people in our lives, I'm sure I'm not the only one, going on our journey through life, going, what's the purpose of life? What am I meant to be here for? So tonight we have some very special people. Like I said, let us introduce everyone before we get going. We've got some really extra special guests who have joined us at the last minute. So I would like to welcome and thank the first person is Katerina. And Katerina, if you want to give a bit of a wave and let everyone know who you are, because Katerina's just joined us without even knowing what we do, anything like that, just jumped in at the spur of the moment and going, yes, I will be there. So thank you for stepping up, Katerina. And let me tell all our listeners a little bit about yourself. So you are an evolutionary life coach, a mentor, a quantum light master and activator who works with the universal life energy to raise the frequency for humanity and our planet Earth, which is so needed. Absolutely would love to talk to you more about that one. Katerina is the owner and creator of Be Your True Self, a safe place where you can explore your inner world without fear and judgment, where you will discover your grandest light of who you are. So, Katerina, there's so much more to know about you, and I'm going to leave that as we go on with our discussion so we get to know a little bit about you and how you found your purpose. So, again, thank you for joining us. And we also have, if I can introduce Maddie Armour, who, and I know I'm not saying your name right, Maddie, who's also joined us again at the last moment, as we had a couple of people who weren't able to make it. So thank you for joining us again, Maddie, for coming in all the way from India. And Maddie, you are a Freedom Soul Coach. It's great to want to know more about that. As a Freedom Soul Coach, your aim is to guide people, especially coaches, to get freedom from burnout and limiting beliefs. Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much. We have, when as coaches and as other people, we do tend to burn out quite a lot, people. So I want to talk to you more about that too and how you found your purpose. So again, thank you for joining us in that. Now, as part of our panelists who are able to make it today is, of course, Beatty, who I don't know if I've got that pronunciation right. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Beatty is, let me read about Beatty, because Beatty's joined us before at a really interesting hour at 2 a.m, but now I know it's 12 o'clock, so I hope it's much, much better for you. And Beatty helps ambitious entrepreneurs to up-level their mindset, design their unique dream lifestyle business they absolutely love to achieve with more revenue, impact and freedom. And after a successful career in marketing in global organisations such as Kellogg's and Bacardi, leading multi-million-dollar brands like Grey Goose and Bombay Sapphire, Beatty finally recognised her purpose and your passion, which we want to talk about, and left her corporate job to build a business that will make a difference in people's lives. So again, Beatty, thank you. Beatty, thank you for joining us tonight. And I definitely want to know more about your purpose and how you were left from the corporate world to where you're now helping others. So good. And last but definitely not the least, is our beautiful host, our tribe host, Jen, who is joining us at 1 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, the dedication all the way from the US. And Jen is not only the host of our Conscious Law of Attraction tribe, which we'll talk about more, but is a trainer of Conscious Law of Attraction and a teacher of the foundation principles of conscious creation. and would love for you to join her to learn how to implement all the key principles so that you can consciously create a life that you love, which what we're all here to talk about is finding the purpose and how we can actually create the life that we're meant to be on what is our purpose. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. For everyone who is watching us live, please say hello in the comments. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and we will certainly get them to our listeners. So let us start. Let us start by asking, what is purpose? Let's start by that. And if we can go around for everyone again who just in the order that everyone joined me that I've got here. Katerina, tell us what your belief, what your I'm trying to think of what the word is now that it's totally lost me, but what your meaning of purpose is and how you found your purpose.
Okay, well, purpose, that's a good question, isn't it? Because I get asked that all the time. What is my purpose? And I always answer that with your purpose was to be with me right
Okay.
any given moment.
Okay. You just dropped out a little bit there, Katerina. So if you could just say that again, that your purpose, we heard your purpose, and then at any given
Technology,
moment,
right?
technology, it's not a problem.
Okay, so what I was saying was I always get asked what is my purpose? And
Yes.
my answer is always your purpose was to sit with me today to find out how you can move forward with much ease and grace and how to overcome any challenges that you may have at this given moment. I explained that purpose is multi-layered, and as you raise your self-understanding or frequency, you will eventually throw out the window what you started with and come up with a much a different version of what your purpose is. That's how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how did I know about my purpose? Well, I woke up at 14 years old and I knew I had to help humanity in some way. So I just spent my life moving through all my challenges and creating tools to help myself. And I also retired from corporate world back in 2016 and created my business so I can give people a safe place to understand what their purpose is.
Mm. So thank you for sharing that. And again, we want to go more into how you found your purpose and how you're living your purpose now. But I really like how you talk about, like your purpose is what you're doing right now,
Yeah.
right at the moment.
Yeah. It takes away that expectation, the labels, it takes away the pressure of um, like society likes to give us pressures and deadlines where I say, well, my purpose is to be here today with all you lovely people. Um, it's such a general and broad word, I
Yes,
feel.
yes, it is. So,
Because yeah, I always say to my clients, the lady that goes and does and cleans a house, that's her purpose. And you might find that she's the happiest one out of a lot of people because she feels within herself that that's her purpose.
thank
It's a
you.
feeling, emotional and mental feeling.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. It's appreciated, and we will come back to that
Sure.
more later. So thank you. And Jen, what about yourself? What do you believe purpose is? If there's anything else that you can add to what Katerina said, and how did you find your purpose?
Well, to me, purpose is again what she was saying is that it's just being here now, but it's more about just being the creator and living, experiencing life in all of its forms. The good, the bad, the happy, the sad, just experiencing it all. That's the purpose, to be here to create. Um, and I really found my passion and my purpose just by taking steps, um, following intuition, following, oh, that looks interesting. Let me learn more about that. Let me read more books. Let me take this class, and just every step that I took led me to another direction and another direction and another direction. And it keeps building on each other, and all the pieces, kept fitting in. And sometimes I'd find a piece here. I'm like, well, that I learned that, and then that kind of sat on the back burner, but then it came back. And so all the pieces start filling back in, so everything you do is really your purpose, right? And it just keeps, like puzzle pieces, everything you do fits in and fits in and fits in and fits in as you go along. But you don't need to know how they're going to fit in. You just know that everything you're doing fits in some way, somehow.
Good, thank you. And I want, it's that knowing. It's that knowing that all the different puzzles, all the different pieces fits into the puzzle and things like that. And one question that we will come to it soon is, how do we know? But let's leave that for a moment if I can, because I want to ask Maddie again, do you have a different meaning to purpose? And how did you find your purpose in life to becoming a freedom coach?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that question. It is a very powerful and a difficult question, I must say that.
It is.
I would just like to add on to what Katrina and Jen have already said. And I believe that, we have this core belief in our heart. For a couple of us or all of us present here, it might be we want to help the people that we want to help, like we want to serve the people around us. For me, purpose is the medium almost that helps me get to that belief and get that belief across to people, right? So for me, being a coach is my purpose, to help people, to serve people almost. And it is a very light and a heavy feeling both at the same time, because it feels like, oh, just like Jen said, this is something that I said as well when I figured out that, oh, I want to be a coach. And it felt like all the puzzle pieces kind of fit in, and I could see the bigger picture. I could finally see, oh, this is what I was meant to do almost. And it can be overbearing and overwhelming because, oh God, this is what I was meant to do. I hope I do a good job at it. So yeah, purpose is a very light and overbearing thing, but it is a really amazing thing as well. It is really great to know what we are meant to do. And I found my purpose by a lot of trial and error. Like, I'll be honest, I did a lot of things in my life. I took a lot of journeys, a lot of pathways that I never imagined myself taking. And I finally reached this purpose, which was kind of very different and similar to everything that I have done before. So I feel like it took a lot of trial and error for me to figure out, this is it. And honestly, I would invite anyone watching this that experience and explore different avenues to figure out what your purpose can feel like. Because when you do realize that this might be my purpose, you get that feeling and you already know that, oh, this is it. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love what you're saying about, about exploring, what our purpose is and getting the feeling to it, to know what we're meant to be doing. So thank you for sharing that. And Beate, what about yourself? What about your beautiful self? Is there anything else that you would like to add about the meaning of what purpose is, and how did you find your purpose?
I love everything that everyone's said already, and like to Katrina's point earlier, there is so many layers to it. Yes. So for me, there's another layer, and that's kind of like your purpose is what life appoints you to do. And I had this beautiful kind of analogy by, I don't know, Derek Randall. Watched an interview with him yesterday, and he mentioned that, imagine an acorn. And an acorn looks at an apple tree and thinks, oh, that apple tree is really cool. It's got this beautiful fruit. They get this amazing dessert made of this fruit. People come to pick the fruit and they love, they make so much out of it. That's where all the money is. That's where the success is. I want to be an apple tree. So can you imagine what an apple tree would, like what an acorn would turn, how that could ever turn into an apple tree? It would be a terrible apple tree. No fruit, it wouldn't grow very far. It'd probably never get anywhere. But if it owns its own purpose of what it was, the seed that it was intended to be, and really gives it all to that, it would become a beautiful, majestic oak tree that is very much admired and incredible part of nature. But so often we are conditioned by what we see, how we've grown up, what society tells us to do, what Instagram tells us, what we see, oh, this person got successful by doing that, I need to do that. By all the things that are happening outside of us, that we've kind of lost the connection with what our seed and what we are actually here to do. So, and the lines are very blurred. So I think our biggest challenge, especially in the world that we're in now, where there's just information overflow, to just get back in touch and to get clearer picture of what that seed in us is, what our true desires are, and our gifts, our passions, our talents. So that for me is a part of one of the layers of purpose as well. On my own journey, I had been passionate about the self-development world, about personal growth for years, 10, 15 years. I'd been reading all the books, watching the videos, going on retreats, purely for myself, because as a hobby. It's like, okay, I can't make money off that. I'm just really enjoying this topic. And then it actually got to a point in my job, I was burnout, and it just didn't work anymore. And I decided to take a bit of a break. It literally, the second I started taking that break, within a couple of weeks, I was like, oh, I hadn't seen the wood for the trees, because it was right there in front of me. There's so much of experience and learnings and everything and wisdom that I've created over the last 10, 15 years. But I had to go through this path to build all of that up, to eventually go like, this is it, this is what I want to do. And I had to learn all of that. So I don't see that before doing what I do now, I was off purpose. It was part of purpose to get me to where I needed to be, because I don't think I could have done this job or what I do now 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have had that own journey, that own growth that has brought me there. So I think we're always searching for our purpose kind of out there. What is it? What is it? What is it? And almost waiting for it to drop onto our laps and think like, oh, everything's going to be fine. Once I've found my purpose, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to fall into place. But that's not how it works. It's similar to what Maddie said. It's like you've got to take steps. You've got to every part of your experience is part of your purpose, and by fine-tuning what it is that actually feels close to your seed, that feels authentic, that you're in integrity with yourself, and you know that when you're doing it. So that's when you kind of feel more and more of that and get closer to that. It all happens internally. There's nothing outside of you that can ever give you your purpose or tell you your purpose or show you your purpose. It's all in there.
Thank you ever so much for sharing that, which is really wonderful, because it brings me on into our next question, which you can continue to answer if you like, Beatty, because I love how it's never one purpose. Right? A lot of people may think that, what is my purpose in life, and that's it. But what I'd like to know is, how do we know? How do we know what our purpose is? Is it our purpose, or is it someone else's purpose? Is it a cultural purpose? If you're brought up in a certain culture and a certain family that, like everyone does the same thing. How do we know what is our purpose compared to other people's purpose?
I'm not even sure we necessarily need to say this is my purpose. Mm-hmm. But I think it's something that's really easy to say and very difficult to actually do, is follow your joy. What brings you the most joy? What lights you up? What energizes you? What are the things you do really easily that just comes naturally to do? What are the things that people ask you for, that people come to you for? And these are the things we often don't recognize the least, because it comes so easily to us. And we've been trained to it's got to be hard. It's got to, work really hard. You've got to learn all of this, that, and the other. But it's actually the things that are the easiest that are going to be the closest to our purpose. And, there's a lot of talk of stepping into your zone of genius. There's the 4 areas of zone of, I can't think of it, zone of excellence, zone of, mine's gone blank. But anyway, the reason why so many people struggle to get into their zone of genius is because it's scary. It's just think about, oh no, I'm just going to do what I enjoy. I'm just going to do what I'm good at. Yet the more you do of that, the more everything else will drop away, and the more you will step into your purpose, into your genius. And the more you can contribute to the world, the more you can shine and give to people that are around you. But it's a very scary process. And a lot of people often don't dare to take that step. But it's, basically what lights you up. What are you good at? What do you enjoy? And it's so easy to say, but it's actually really hard to achieve.
Thank you for sharing that, and I love it how, to follow what lights you up, what gives you joy and stuff, which really, I think is, for me, our purpose is just to experience joy, whatever that is doing. So thank you for sharing that. And I see Maddie and other people nodding. So does anyone else have anything that you'd like to add to that, to how do we know what your purpose is? Jen, did you have your hand?
Yes.
Yes.
So, I talk about how your purpose is just to be here, to create, to have experiences. So that's the first thing, is to realize that you're just here to have different experiences. And then it comes down to, what are you choosing, right? When you want to consciously create and consciously find your purpose, it comes down to, what are you actually choosing to create, and where are you putting your focus? Because a lot of times we are having trouble figuring out what our purpose is or what we want to do, but that's because we are saying we want to do something, but it's because we actually want to do this thing to get something else, and we don't even realize that that's not what we really want. And so, I talk a lot about, there's 6 sabotaging patterns that a lot of times run the show. And so a lot of times we'll run by these sabotaging patterns instead of realizing that, I don't need to be run by these sabotaging patterns. A lot of times we make choices because we're afraid that if we choose what we love, we're not going to belong. And so we don't actually go for what our purpose is and what we love, because we're going to end up being rejected, or we don't feel good enough, or we don't feel like we're worthy, or we don't feel perfect, or we don't feel significant, and we need to feel significant. And so it's really about dropping these sabotaging patterns and knowing that none of those are true. You are just here to create. You are the powerful creator of your life. Now, what do you want to create just because you would love to create it? Not because you're going to get something else out of it. What do you want just because you would want it? And then taking the action steps to do that and moving towards that. And that's how you really can find a purpose. I choose to live my true nature and purpose. That, you make that choice of, this is what you want. And then you say, okay, so what would I love to do? What would I love to have just because I would love it? And then take action from that place.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's all, the different steps of taking action, to following that joy and that passion and things like that, and taking the action for that. So thank you for sharing that. And Maddie, what about you? Would you like to share anything?
Yeah, I love the points that Beatty and Jen made. They were so good. They were genuinely so amazing. And I just like to say, right, at the end of the day, the question that you asked, it's just self-awareness. And I feel like that ties up to both of your points as well, self-awareness. And again, it's not as easily kind of practiced as it is said, but it is also at the base of it all very easy, mostly because we tend to overcomplicate a lot of the things around ourselves. Even when we find our true purpose in life, or whatever different purposes in our life that we have, if we are doing something that genuinely feels like, oh, this is it, we tend to overcomplicate it, because it can't be so easy, it can't be so simple. And so at the base of it all, I feel like you just need to sit down with yourself when you are about to start this journey. It's ask yourself, who is this for? Am I searching my purpose for myself, or am I searching it for other people, for my family, for my friends, for society, for the way that I have been kind of nurtured and cared for? Who am I doing this for? And once you have that out of the way, once you have that set in your mind that I want to start by doing this for myself first, and then for others, I want to see how it affects others after I find out what it actually means for me. That covers I want to do this because this gives me joy. And then you sit down and you're like, whose joy is this? Is this my joy, or is this someone else's joy? Right? Because a lot of times, especially if you, I would say this for most Asian families, but it's not a stereotype as such, but we grow up very close to our families, right? Like it's very deeply intertwined, everything that's happening around our house. And so it can get confusing who you're doing this for. Like I wanted to be a doctor from a very young age, but it took a lot of years for me to realize that this is actually my dad's dream. This is how he envisioned me, not I envisioned me. My envision is like, my vision for myself is to help people. I don't mind what different pathways that takes, what the destination looks like, but you need to understand who is this dream of, whose purpose is this. Is it someone else's purpose or is it your purpose? And once you get clear on that, you can actually, like, it takes a lot of pressure off of you, because you realize that this is something that I want to do for me, and it can then, then I can look at how it affects other people. A lot of times people do find their purpose for other people, and I know this sounds very almost you're being so selfish, but that is the point. You have to be selfish, at least in this aspect of finding out what your purpose looks like, before you can see how it affects other. Because if you find your purpose based on others' perceptions of you and how they would look at you never truly find it. You never truly feel that, that moment of click, like, this is it. Because it's always you operating on someone else's beliefs and someone else's perceptions. So I honestly tell people that, for this moment at least, put yourself first and look at what is it that I am looking for. Where do, like, you are at the center of this universe that you are planning to create. So what is it that you actually are hoping to create? And yeah.
I like that. Thank you. What are we actually hoping to create, and to follow that? So thank you for sharing that. And there's such a big difference in knowing, knowing if it's someone else's purpose or if it's really mine. And that's what I'd like to ask Katerina, if you may, is if you've got anything else to add to that. And also, what happens when you are in a situation, a cultural situation, a family situation, when, like Maddie was saying, that her original purpose was to be a doctor, but it was actually her father's purpose, not her own. So when you've got someone who has another purpose for you, what are some things that we can do to help us overcome that, and to know, to have the strength, the courage to follow our own purpose?
Oh, well, when I was growing up, my father had a different version of what I would do, right? So my suggestion is that I agree with the other ladies, is to find what makes you feel bright, what makes you feel lighter. Now, I always knew that I was here to help people understand their energetics, the energy around us from an emotional point of view. And so, because the world wanted me to be a certain way, I rebelled. Like so many people rebel, right? Because you get put into a label or a box, or you've got to do it this way and you've got to do it that way. So, my path was rebelling against that. My suggestions are that you take quiet time every day and just tune in and feel into your own energetic self, your own, how do you feel at this moment? Does it make you smile? Is there any doubt? And look at them and just untangle the knot. You know what I mean? Like our energies can become like a ball of string that's all up in knots. So what we do is, when we go on this healing energy or finding out our purpose, we have to undo the knots that we created by either through our culture or our schooling or trauma or any of those things, and find that quiet moment every day for 10 minutes and look at and ask the question, how can I make a difference to myself so I can become the process for others, so I can lead by example. Like, as you know, we can sit with people for hours and talk to them, and if they're not ready to heal themselves or they're not ready to listen, you know, they're either going to rebel or shut down and not listen to you. So what I recommend is that we find that quiet moment to see how our process works for ourselves. What are we taking on? What are we doing to make a difference? How is it working for me? And let's see if it works for somebody else by just having a conversation. Yes, you know, our culture and our upbringing, our traumas and all past lives come into it as well, because we hang on to things. Another suggestion is to journal. I love journaling personally, where you express how you feel and untangle your emotional and mental, because those two things are trying to find the balance, right? And to take us into our intuitive nature, where our wisdom is within ourselves, so we can learn to listen to our whispers, because our intuition is quiet, and we need to learn how to quieten ourselves down and not be distracted by the external noise. Otherwise, because as you know, the world's getting noisier, and that's because, you know, they don't want you to listen to your intuition.
Sure.
I mean, there's some of the things that I do and help my clients with.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Beatty, yes, I'd like to ask you and everyone else if you've got any tips. But just before we do, just wanted to, I forgot to mention, just say hello to Corinna, who's watching us, and everyone else who is watching us. If you've got any questions, any comments about the search for purpose, you know, how you found your purpose, or any questions for all these beautiful panelists, please let us know. And of course, Jeffrey, who's joining us in the audience today, if you have any questions, just let us know too. So Beatty, what about you? How, you know, what tips do you have for people to really know what their purpose is compared to someone else's purpose?
I think great suggestions by Katrina again, because you can only find it inside of you. But then it also, you've got to move into action. But sometimes we build things up like these massive things. For example, like, oh, I'm really passionate about being a coach. I'm in a corporate world, but I want to be a coach. And we feel like, oh, I need to start a business. I need to get clients. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it becomes this huge thing. And we step out like, oh, that's way too much. That's overwhelming. So we don't do anything towards that. But really identifying, like, what are the smallest, tiniest little things that you can do towards that to kind of just tip your toes in the sand a little bit. And also then you don't necessarily need to have that conversation with people that might have a different view of what your life should look like, by just slowly and gradually taking one step after another, and not thinking about, well, what this is going to turn into. Am I going to make enough money being a coach? And all of these questions that come up when you think, oh, maybe this is my purpose. But just start with the smallest thing. Like a couple of years ago, I started having this idea, like, I want to contribute to my environment with all the experiences that I've had. So I literally just, without even thinking about building a business or anything like that, I just started doing like a Saturday circle for some of my friends. For an hour. I had coffee and cookies, and we picked a topic and discussed it. And that was like, oh, I really enjoy doing that. And then I actually didn't do it. I did it a few times, like about 6 months, and then didn't do it again because work started going crazy. But I already had that experience. I'd already figured out, oh, this is something I really enjoy doing. And what's the next step after that I can do in that direction? And not letting the whole big thing that we make things out to be hold us back.
Thank you. And I like how you say, you know, just doing the things that you enjoy, the little steps, not letting all the other stuff hold us back and following that. So thank you for that. And what about Jen? Do you have any tips that you'd like to share for people to really find their purpose, and, you know, and not being affected by society's purpose or other people's purpose for us?
Well, yeah. So a morning routine is a really good way to start. And it's good to every morning step into the end result of whatever you're trying to create, your choices, your passion, so that it gets your body the idea that it's safe to have it. Your body gets to know that what it's like to have that. And so you're focused on that, right? And then I talk a lot about structure. And so it's, what do you want to create? What is the end result? What's your passion that you're trying to create? What's your vision? And then step into it. And then you look at your current reality, because that's a lot of times where people get messed up, is they don't want to look at their current reality because maybe it's so far away from what they're trying to create. And so then you look at your current reality and you look at, okay, so what's the next obvious action step? Just the next one, right? And then all this stuff's going to come up in the way. And that's all the stuff from society, all the stuff that's telling you you can't do this because you can't do this because you can't do that because, or, you know, maybe I shouldn't because, or all this stuff, right? And so when that stuff comes up, it's knowing that it's not supposed to be easy because you've lived your whole life a certain way, you know, however long it is. And so that's been your identity, right? And so when this stuff comes up, instead of thinking of it like blaming yourself or shaming yourself or saying, oh, it's too hard, it's looking at it objectively, becoming self-aware and saying, this is interesting. Is this true? Right? Is this belief that I have true now? Is it still serving me now? Because maybe it was serving me in the past. And so then you can do whatever process it is, journaling, meditation, energy healing, you know, therapy, whatever it is, to kind of like process these things so that then you can take the action step. And so you can continue moving forward and being pulled by your end vision, right? And so it's really about where to focus, always focusing on where you're going, the end result, but then looking at where you're at now, and then taking the next obvious action step and understanding that, you know, things are going to come up, things are going to change. And we may not want things to change, right? That's the other thing, is we want this thing, but we don't want anything to change outside of us. That's the only thing we want to change. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. So you have to understand that things are going to shift and they're going to change, and people may come in your life, people may leave your life, jobs may change, jobs may shift, and it's not going to be easy. But it's having that understanding that this is normal. This is part of the creation process, because you're stepping into something you've never been before. Because if you already had it, then you wouldn't have your current reality separate from it. So when you're trying to create something different, you're stepping into something different, you're being something different. So there's that. And so just knowing that it's part of the process, you know, to the stuff that's coming up. And then also really looking at the different values of whatever you're trying to create. The person who has this thing, what do they value? And looking at your current set of values. And they're probably going to be a little bit different. And so then you have a choice. Well, okay, so if I want this thing, maybe I need to start acting from this set of values. So whatever action steps we take, you know, we want to make sure we're taking them from this values, because it would be it now. You have to tell your body that it's okay to have it now. So what would the person I'm becoming do right now? What would the next action step be right now from your current reality, right? And it may be a different thing than you've ever thought of before. It might be the same an action step you have thought of, right? But you're taking it from the place of, if I already had this, what would they do? You know? And then one more thing really quickly is, when you're in your meditation, you can also step into your end result. And this is a little bit more advanced, but you can say to your future self, looking back at where you were, what was the next action step? And you have your future self tell you, this is what action step you took. This is the thing that you did. This is the thing you need to do. So you're getting guidance and wisdom from your future self, who already has this created and already done and manifested. So
Love it. Love that. Asking your future self, what are the steps that you've taken? You know, what are the next step to take? Love that. Thank you for sharing that. And what about Maddie? Do you have any tips that we can use into knowing what our purpose is?
Yeah, I loved all the tips that were shared here. Once again, I'd just like to add one more thing to it, which is just being able to have a tribe, an inner circle almost of people that are aware of what your current purpose looks like. I say this because back when I realized that, maybe I wanted to be a coach, and I was doing a lot of things, right? Again, I was doing podcasting, I was doing all these amazing things. And I was like, this is amazing. And the very next moment that I realized that, I had this overbearing feeling of I need to run, because like Jen was saying, like this was exactly opposite of everything that I had done so far. I was the quiet kid in the classroom. I was the person who never showed up and said what they wanted to say. And now I was out here speaking my truth and telling people that, this is what I am going through. Would you like to experience it as well? So it was a very monumental shift. And at that point of time, it was just the fact that, I started out by creating a podcast, and I was like, you know what, let me not do this. Let me go back to my old life and not try to I experience this. But then I realized that I had invited and had already booked a lot of in my circle there were a couple of people who are like my mentors, and they were at like really high positions, and they gave me time so that they could get interviewed by me. And I was like, I can't go back on this. I can't go back on my commitment. And I spoke to them, I communicated with them, I communicated with my family that there is this fear coming up of me failing and me not being able to show up the way I show up. And there's all these emotions, and they guided me through it. And so my only suggestion would be to have a close knit community, almost an inner circle, if you will, of close friends, of people who are there to support you no matter what, and who can call you out as well. Like, oh, this is stupid. Like, I don't want to kind of hurt you, but this is stupid. You know that this is you going back to your old patterns. So I need you to come out, recognize that, and tell me what you want to do next. And I'll support you through it. But, having that inner circle is really, really crucial. Like, I have a fellow coach, and we coach each other all the time. And she calls me out a lot on a lot of the things when she sees me reverting back to my patterns of let me hide and not show up. She's like, no, you are good. Go out there and speak your truth. So I feel like having an inner circle is really, really crucial in your journey, finding out your purpose and living that purpose almost, if you will. Because finding your purpose is one thing. I feel like it's the easy part. Finding out your purpose, the hard part is living that purpose. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really acknowledge and thank you for what you're saying, is that, yes, it could be easier to find what our purpose is, but living it no matter what, and no matter what other people think. So, and having the support of friends or family or an inner circle absolutely will help you. So thank you for sharing that. And I do want to ask one other question before we finish, just to put it up, is, a lot of people talk about purpose and passion. So I'd like to ask everyone what your difference is between purpose and passion. But before we do that, I also want to bring in Jeff, who's our audience member, who's here, would like to share. Jeffrey, do you have anything that you would like to share about what purpose means for you?
I do, Sophia, and thank you. I'll be as brief as I can be.
Okay.
I was drawn to Beatty's story about the oak tree and the apple tree. And if we take a deeper dive into the oak tree, my diagnosis is the oak tree has no self or little self-worth, little self-value, and no self-love. That's why the oak tree wants to be an apple tree. Now, if we transfer that to people that don't have their self-worth, their self-love, their self-esteem, always are looking outside of themselves for their purpose, love, acceptance. So I have found for myself, as Maddie said earlier, who tells us we're selfish when we're doing self-care? The people that are telling us we're selfish are those people that want to entrap us into their vision for us, under their control. So they will do whatever's self-care, self-love, self-esteem is not selfish. And that's the message I just like to pass on. I've recently found my purpose. It's the biggest joy just in the last few weeks at nearly 70 years old. I knew what it was 20 years ago, but my lower self, like the oak tree, and as Katerina said, whispered to me, you don't want to do that. You're not good enough for this. And it went for 20 years. Now, finally, the whisper has stopped and I'm up and away. And look, what a wonderful discussion this has been. I've enjoyed it. And thank you for the time, Sophia.
Thank you, Jeff, and I love what you're saying. I really, really do. It's, like when we really have that self-worth, then again, we don't worry about what other people say and other people listen. It's only when we don't have a high self-esteem of ourselves that we allow other people to influence us in our purpose. So thank you for sharing that. And I also just want to say hello. We've got another comment, Anna, who is watching us, that she's loving this, to follow our hearts and to find our true purpose in life. So thank you, Anna, for watching us. So yes, before we finish up, would anyone like to comment either, or also to add to what Jeffrey was saying, but and also, is there a difference between purpose and passion, or is it the same? What does anyone think?
Well, I would say that purpose is who you are. You are the creator of your life. That's it. You are the predominant creator of your life. You create everything. That's your purpose. Now, the passion is a feeling, right? And it's a good feeling, but it's a feeling. And I think when we get confused that we try to have purpose with the passion, not everything we do we're going to have passion about. Like when you're creating, sometimes you're doing things that you're not going to be passionate about in that moment. That action step may not be fun. The action step may not be, you may have to talk to somebody and have a conversation that's not fun and you're not passionate about, right? And so we have to separate purpose from passion. Mm-hmm. Passion is a feeling, and you can feel passionate at any given time, in any given moment, if you choose to feel passionate, right? Mm-hmm. But when we attach it to purpose, I think we get lost and confused, and we think we have to feel passionate about what we're doing. We don't. We have to we're here to create, period. We're here to create your experience. And then, the passion can come in certain experiences and certain things, and it's great, but it shouldn't be the go-to, right? It shouldn't be like, I need to find my passion, because sometimes the action steps aren't going to be passion. And you can find the passion also, though, when you're going into your end result. That's when you can find the passion. Like, I'm going to feel passionate about the end result when I finally have it, right? But then in the meantime, the action steps, you just have to take the action steps. And it's not easy. This is something I definitely struggle with, taking the action, even though it's like hard. And sometimes, it's not eloquent, and sometimes it's not, you just show up, and sometimes it's messy and you're emotional, whatever it is, it's not fun, but you have to keep taking the action step to get you to where you want to go. But it's all part of creation. It's all part of creation.
It's all part of that. So thank you. And it certainly is, no matter what, is if you're following your purpose, then you keep on going, even if you're going through all the tough times. So thank you for sharing that, Jen. And Katerina, let's go to you next, because I know you had your hand up, and also Betty, and then we'll finish off with Maddie, who can round us out for the evening. What's for you? Is there a difference between purpose and passion?
It's a blur line. Like, I have to agree with Jenny, like, I'm fulfilling my purpose, and there are days where my passion isn't there because I have to do admin work, for example, because I'm not with a client or something. What I would like to suggest is that you just take your time. You learn more about yourself. How do you work? How don't you work? How do you think? How you don't think? Talk to people that you feel will give you the time to listen to how you're feeling emotionally at the time, or mentally. I mean, can I just share with you, Sophia, the very first time, like, I've been mentored by celestial beings. I had 2 humans who helped me, but the rest were all done by celestial beings. One day my mentor said to me, and I was at a vitamin shop, he said to me, telepathically, he said, see that lady behind the counter? She's your first client. Now, I've never done counseling or anything like that before. And he said to me, you need to go and ask her to come and see you. So, and I'm thinking, oh, how am I going to do this? So I just had to trust myself in having that conversation and feeling into my own self and saying to her, I was buying the vitamins, and I said, wow, this really helps you, like, you create the conversation. So by the time I finished with her, she came to see me, and she saw me for 5 months after that. And I helped her fall pregnant, unbeknownst to me, right? So my point is sometimes you just got to take a big breath, hold yourself tightly, know that you can do what you want to do, and just go in and, ask that person or do that education or just take that next step, even though you don't know what's ahead of you. And you'll be very surprised how suddenly you'll be happy to know that your purpose is, like me, to help other people understand themselves.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing this. Is that it really is about trust as well.
Yeah.
Trusting that guidance and just going with the guidance, whether it's it's that inner guidance from your higher self, from other beings, but just trusting. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, that's how you gain experience, right? So I learned from my clients how to do all these things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And Riti, what about yourself? What's your difference between purpose and passion?
I think passion can point you towards purpose. It's a part of it. So, for example, I was passionate about self-development and personal growth for so many years, and it was part of my purpose to develop that experience, that strength. Last year, I hosted the Passion to Profit Summit, actually, and like 25 people interviewed around the world, really kind of top leaders in the industry. And I was so passionate about the summit, but bloody hell was it hard work. And I did not enjoy having to write 300 emails to all these people. They've never heard of me, and trying to get them on a call and follow up with them. And there was many days where I was like, oh, but I was so passionate about the project itself. So I think it's more about that, are you sort of passionate about sustainability? Are you passionate about, whatever it is? I'm also very passionate about dancing. That's got nothing to do with my business. But sometimes when I go and spend an hour or two dancing by myself, I come up with the best ideas. So it's kind of still part of the business, but kind of following that rather than okay, I need to feel passionate about every single thing that I do. But what's the bigger picture? What are the big items that I'm passionate about? And follow that.
Follow that. Thank you so very much for sharing that, about following what you're passionate about, and no matter what, even if it is hard work, you just keep going because you're passionate about that. So thank you for that. And just Tracy is saying very informative, thank you. And again, thank you, Tracy, for watching us. And Maddie, would you like to round us up with what is your difference between purpose and passion?
Yeah, I actually loved all the points that were once again made by my fellow panelists. And I'd just like to say, for me, I feel like passion and purpose both fuel each other. So like there's a very deep relationship between them. Your passion can fuel your purpose, and your purpose can fuel your passion. But at the end of it, there is also like clearly demarcated lines or boundaries, if you will, because I work with people who go through burnout, who are going through burnout. And at the end of the day, the thing that helps them move through it, and in burnout, basically your passions kind of die down, and it's almost like very less of it remaining, that energy, that motivation to get out and go back into what you want to do. But it's the purpose that kind of reminds them that I'm going to be here no matter what. Right? You take care of yourself, you get that passion going, and come back to me because I'll be here no matter what. So I feel like at the end of the day, they fuel each other, but they can also exist separately of each other. Right? So it's just finding that balance of both can exist in and of itself, but they can also be intertwined and they can help each other grow. And to that end, that's why I believe, and I tell this to a lot of people that I work with as well, that if you're not passionate about doing one aspect of your project, get that done by someone else who's passionate about it, right? Because like Katerina was saying, like I hate admin work. I'll be completely honest. Like it's just too much for me, but I have to do it because it fuels my purpose, but I'm not passionate about it. And so what I tend to do is I give that away to someone who is passionate about it, and they can do a better job at it and help me at the very base of it all, continue my purpose of helping people. So yeah, I mean, they can exist separately and they can fuel each other. It's just finding that thin line of where to kind of draw boundaries and realize that just because your passion is dying out doesn't mean that your purpose is wrong. And
Sure.
just because, you know, like you have that overbeing, I don't want to do this anymore, maybe this was not my purpose. Like, no, it's just, purpose is just at the end of the day a vehicle for your body, mind, and soul to carry out the belief that you carry in your heart. And there can be many beliefs. My personal belief is, I want to help as many people as possible. So my purpose of being a coach helps me drive that belief through and help as many people as possible. So yeah, I mean, they can exist separately and they can fuel each other. Yeah, that would I like doing that.
Thank you so very, very, very much. And that leads me on to another question, but we are running out of time. So I just want to really thank you, Maddie, for sharing that. And it's like, you know, just to make sure no matter what, you keep following what your purpose is. And even if it gets tiring, if you know what's in your heart, that you just keep on going. So I just want to thank you for sharing that. I'd like to thank everyone, all our beautiful panelists tonight who's sharing, you know, all your feelings and beliefs and experiences and wisdom about sharing about the search for purpose and finding our purpose and the difference between purpose and passion. And also I'd like to thank Angel, who's with us doing all the tech stuff, and of course our beautiful audience member Jeff, who's come in to join us. Before we go, I'd like to, Maddie, because you were just finishing, would you like to share if you've got any giveaways for our audience members or any programs that you'd like to tell us about? And of course, we're putting everyone's links in the comments, so do click on the links to connect with all our panelists. And Maddie.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to invite anyone out there who's probably going through burnout or experiencing different levels of stress and feel like they might be burning out to this container I have, which is a one-on-one pay what you want container called Aramb, which basically means beginning in Hindi. And so it's just the first step that you take towards getting your freedom back and working towards the thing that you're really passionate about and your purpose. So all you have to do is just reply Aramb or send me a message Aramb, and I will send across the details. All you have to do is jump on a call and we'll take things from there. Genuinely like to support you the best way I know how, and that is by being in your presence, holding you and having a conversation with you. So yeah,
thank you for sharing that. And Betty, what about yourself? What are you going to share with our audience members?
So I'm all about living our days intentionally, and going back to what Jen mentioned earlier, you know, having a morning routine. And, you know, we talked about taking the right action and really creating our life and taking control of taking intentional creation of our life. So I've put together a productivity checklist that you can really go through. It's got morning, midday, and evening, kind of to check in with yourself. Are you on the right path? What's off? What's working? What's not working? To really create every day the best it can be. So I'll put the link in the comments, but it's beatecoaching.com/productivity.
Thank you for that, and we'll certainly be sharing it for everyone who's watching us online, so thank you. And what about Katerina? What are you going to share with us this evening?
If anybody is interested in learning about their energetics and how they are connected to the universe and how to learn to become one with their energy, with their high self and whoever, you know, their intuitive nature, their psychic abilities and all those things, you can visit my website, beyourtrueselfkaterina.com, and there will give you all the links to have a chat with me. We can have a coffee chat to see if we're suited with each other, and I have programs where I can teach you how to connect and bring it into your everyday life. And I'm also on Facebook.
Thank you. We'll certainly be sharing all those links, so thank you for that. And Jen, what about yourself? Do you have anything that we can share with the audience members?
Well, I'm a tribe leader on Sacred You, so you can come join me. every week we meet up and I talk about different principles of conscious creation, different fundamentals of conscious creation. I do have a morning plan set up in our group, morning ritual. And we talk about things like subconscious belief clearing, unconscious mind, meditation, just creating in general, and all the different aspects of it, action and true choices and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's really, really exciting. And then I'm also on Facebook, and you can look me up on Conscious Law of Attraction or under my name as well, Jen Rossner.
Thank you. And again, we'll put all those links in. Thank you. And of course, for everyone who is watching us, I do definitely recommend coming and checking out Jen's tribe, the Conscious Law of Attraction. So I'd just like to again, lastly, thank our beautiful panelists. Thank Beatty, who's joining us, and Maddie from India, and Katerina and Jen, and of course Jeffrey, who's tuning in as well. And I'm Sophia from our sacred community, sacredyou.love. Check out our website. You can join us you can join Jen's tribe and all of our other tribes. We've got about 30 tribes on all different topics, from conscious law of attraction to health and wellness to personal empowerment, tribes on self-esteem, on raising our vibration, on human design, astrology, all sorts of things. So you can join us just for $1. It's $1 Australian. Try out all our tribes if you wish for 21 days. Just for $1, and then after that it's just 15 Australian dollars a month. So do click on the links. Also click on the links, we will be putting them in if they're not already, about our future events. And I do have to apologize, I don't know what is coming up. Angel might be able to tell us what is our next panel discussion. Usually I have it all up. So Angel, I'm going to put you on the spot. What's our next panel discussion? I've got no idea. It's on Thursday. Don't know. It's in self-esteem and empowerment. So we've got self-esteem and empowerment. I just found it, Angel. Thank you. Coming up on Thursday at 10:30. That is Australian Eastern Standard Time. For anyone who wants to join us for that, I really recommend it. So, wonderful evening for me in the evening, and I hope everyone had a beautiful day, and thank you everyone for watching us on Facebook. And again, thank you to all our beautiful panelists. Really, really appreciate it.